Welcome, everybody, to the Seattle Sports Union podcast. My name is Abraham Deweese. I'm back here once again, and we have a special guest. That's right. This week, we have a former Washington Husky linebacker, Kai Ellis. How's it going, Kai?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh no! Thank you for being on the show. We appreciate this quite a bit. You're former. If, for those who don't know, I work in Kent. I'm in a fluorescent light bulb office right this moment because I just finished work. And you are from this area. You're a Kent Ridge guy, right?
Yes, sir. Grew up right there in Kent, Washington. Went to Kent Ridge, coached by Marty Osborne, and actually the one that gave me the nickname, the Creature.
Okay, the creature. I do have
Right.
my notes here that you recall that. Why did they call you the creature?
Well, it's kind of funny because I was a beanpole in high school, about 215 pounds. Now I didn't look very strong. I was kind of scraggly, but um, I was actually stronger than what they thought. And so it was a practice where I was going against the offensive lineman and actually put some of them on their back. And Coach Glenn Dacus called me the Creature. I didn't really know what that meant at first, but it sounded like ET or something. But I took it and we went with it.
Like you must have that wiry kind of strength, right?
It was, yeah, it was surprising kind of strength, but it
When
was
you got to
good.
UW, you're about 240. Is that right?
245, 250, it
Okay.
fluctuated.
So you filled out then, obviously. You had to do it the hard way. It sounded like it sounded. I read up on you a little bit, and you went to the City College of San Francisco. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I was a non-qualifier. Actually, when you could prop 48, I was actually being recruited by the Washington State Cougars with Mike Price. Actually, Bill Dova was the recruiter to
Okay.
get me over there. So I actually would have just sat out a year and got my grades together, and actually would have been a Cougar, but it actually fell through because they had to appeal through the NCAA, which in turn ended up sending me to City College of San Francisco with
Well,
George Rush.
well, that would have been a horrible thing. There, you don't want to be a cougar. That's the worst possible outcome. Our producer for this show, Brian the Soul Man Solak, he'd be contacting you nonstop. He'd be bugging you night and day, and yeah. Anyway, um, so City College of San Francisco. I believe O.J. Simpson went there too.
O.J. Simpson did go there actually when they had all that stuff going on. The whole campus was being flooded by reporters, and my coach
Right.
took advantage of it and got paid for giving those articles and stuff out to him.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know
Hmm.
about that. Although nowadays that wouldn't be a big deal, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You're a former Husky linebacker, and you had a great career in the CFL, but you've strayed away from the Pacific Northwest. This is what is this correct? You are now coaching, and where are you coaching at?
I'm at Buchholz High School. I actually took a year off. I was in Colorado
Oh, okay.
just last year, so I had open heart surgery December 9th.
Oh no.
Yeah, so December 22. So I took a year off,
Oh wow.
and so I didn't know what I wanted to do for that year off. I actually was going to join the police academy. I was like, that was a terrible job. I'm 43 years old. I'm not jumping fences and saving people. Okay, so I got back. Like my whole element is coaching football. I do plan on getting back into college after this year, so I'm going to see what opportunities arise.
Now, which high school is this? What state?
This is in Gainesville, Florida.
Okay. What took you down there? Obviously, the heart surgery. Maybe you had to be closer to family, or
Yeah, my brother's actually in the police department down here. He
okay.
actually does SWAT, and he's also in law enforcement down here. So I'm closer to family down here.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Um, I hope you get back up to the college level because you have such a nice young budding career here. I know you're 43, but that's young for coaching age. But you actually started in 2013 with Steve Sarkeesian, is that right?
Yes, sir. So I was there just finishing up school actually when I was done doing all the football stuff and was finishing up a degree. So I had a chance to get on with Steve Sarkeesian, working with Tosh Lupoy in the defensive line, and so yeah. So then after he left at USC, that's when I had to figure out my full time job. Um,
So wait, let me get this straight. You got your degree and you were coaching at the same time. What's that like being a teacher and a student at the?
Well, I
in
mean,
this-
the thing is that a lot of people don't understand. Like when you're a football player, like you do need to get a degree, um, because if they're going to use you, you got to at least kind of use your brain to get a degree to go while you're going to college. Because once it's all done, you got to have something to fall back on. And a lot of guys don't realize that when you're playing football, you think I'm just a football player, but there's more that goes into it.
Right. So did you finish your bachelor's or did you get a second degree?
I finished my bachelor's in ethnic studies, and I also got a master's degree in sports management and recreation.
Nice, nice. Did you spend any time? Well, actually, you probably spent about 10 years in between finishing up that bachelor's degree, right?
It felt like it was longer, but I mean, I was like 30 something years old, and you know, but I got the degree.
So did you kind of find a love again for being a student and then you got the master's as
I
well?
wouldn't use the word love, but I mean, I just know I know I had to get it done.
Fantastic. You after your college, or I'm sorry, after your CFL career ended, uh, you you coached obviously at UW, but you were also, what I wrote down here is you were at a place called Adams State, and that's where you were at in Colorado before the heart complications.
Yes, sir. So I was associate head coach. Also was coaching linebackers, and then also the year before that, I was coaching defensive line as well. Um, so yeah, just before the heart complications, I was doing that. But I've been all over the country coaching college football. So after Steve Sarkisian, I went to Canton, Missouri, and then I
Okay,
also went. And then after Canton, Missouri, I went to California. Coalinga, California, was in junior college and was a defensive coordinator there. And then I went to Sioux City, Iowa, and was a defensive coordinator there. And then I ended up at Adams State, and then now I'm here in Gainesville, Florida.
cool, cool. Do you have you were an assistant head coach, so do you have aspirations of being a head coach in college football?
Oh, I want to go to the highest level, but again, I said I just got to get in where I fit in, and anything, well, anything that they have, whatever capacity, I'm willing to do it. I'll do it.
Fantastic. Have you had a mentor in the coaching world?
Oh, it's been Randy Hart. I've been talking to some buddies that are in. I have some that are at Kentucky, and I've also talked to Jeff Choate sometimes. Um, but yeah, just talking some ball and just trying to see where that lands.
That's
Anybody.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Randy Hart, of course, being the defensive coordinator for the Huskies in was that the new Heisel era?
I thought he was just D line coach with Neuheisel, but then when he had was it Gibson, Coach Gibson? That,
Gilbertson,
yeah,
yes.
Coach Gilby. I think that's when he became the
That's when he
coordinator.
became the defensive coordinator. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's a very famous name around these parts, and it's good to have somebody that can help guide you. If do you find yourself, as you were moving up to that assistant head coach, did you find yourself guiding some of the coaches that were newer?
Yes and no. I mean, I think that it's a process to even be a head coach. So I mean, when you're just now coming onto the scene, you're just worried about having a room and understanding, how you're going to coach the guys up. How do people learn? Because people learn differently. Are they
Right.
visual? Are they hands on? Do a demonstration, hand out test packets, and making sure they don't mess up on Saturday. You know, I think that's what
Fantastic.
you're.
That's very cool. That's cool. And obviously, you're at high school level, so you have a lot of influence over younger people. The question about that is, I mean, the reward the reward for that, I suspect, must be immense. And is that what you're in it for? Is helping the kids?
It's definitely about helping the kids because people only see like the plays that they make on Saturday, but they're not really looking at. Some of these kids come from homes where they never even had parents. Some of
Hmm.
them had learning disabilities. Some of them, didn't have food to eat. So a lot of kids come with trauma. There's other kids that need discipline so they can grow up. And then really the whole thing is that when they're done with college, because you're going to spend more time with those kids than the parents are when they're in college, is that to turn them into responsible grown adults. So you hope so that can be great helpers in the community.
I find that interesting. You've brought that up. A couple other guests that we've had brought that up as well, where for some for some kids, this is their way to get some sort of normalcy, in their life or whatever normal is, because without this opportunity, without a scholarship opportunity, they might get lost between the cracks. And I kind of wonder sometimes, there's a lot of, especially my old alma mater, Eastern, they want to get rid of the sports programs, and I'm like, I don't think you understand what kind of damage that can do. Granted, there's a lot of money in it. Maybe the money shouldn't be there, but I mean, I think it does more good than harm. Everybody seems to think, it's a huge, huge waste of money, but I don't think helping people is a waste of money.
No, I agree with you. I think even without just the college, just sports in general, I remember there was something called late night. And so kids would pay like $10 and it's from like 9 o'clock to like 11. And that's just to keep the kids out of the street. Would you rather have somebody robbing you, or would you rather have somebody who, one, you're getting the mentorship, but they're also doing something positive that's kind of off the streets?
That's a fantastic point. Can we go back? Let's talk about this. I had some other notes here. I'm finding this interesting because you mentioned Prop 48. For those people out there who don't know what that is, can you explain that and how you had to navigate the waters of getting into a college?
So that is a non-qualifier, which means that I did not have the grades to meet the NCAA requirements for athletics. So I would have to sit out and be an actual regular student. I was not allowed to work out with the team or go to any practices, but I needed to show or demonstrate that I would actually be able to survive at a university and get the proper grades to play for the next season. That's what a Prop 48 is.
And then that was only in California, or is that throughout the
That was just
country?
for any in the country, like
Okay,
anywhere in the country. If I wanted to go to Oregon, or if I wanted to go to Washington State or the University of Washington, there's a GPA that you need to have to even be able to step foot on their campus. And so at one point they did have. I don't think they even have Prop 48s anymore. You know, I think Marshall was the
that's
last team that I saw had a Prop 48. I don't know if that's going on still.
so. How do you manage the finances of that going to City College of San Francisco? I mean,
So what I was doing, well, I was pissed off because I couldn't even go to junior college. So I was doing the Herschel Walker workout, 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups. I was working at Alcatraz tying up boats, and
really?
yeah, I was tying up boats and then going to class, and then I would do janitorial services. I got off at like 3 o'clock in the morning and went to school around 7. So, I mean, it's only for 2 years. I'd rather pay the price now or pay the price then and then pay the price later.
Wow, you had to do it the hard way, man. I congratulate you. That shows the character of a person. Uh, you had to do the struggle to get to where you got to. The I, I'm curious. When do you get the scholarship? When did that happen? And what was that like?
So when I got the scholarship, actually, I was moved from defensive end to middle linebacker at City College of San Francisco. And I wasn't even really worried about the recruitment part. I was just worried about, I was actually interested in embarrassing the people that had the scholarship because I was pissed off about that. And so what happened was when Washington State um, talked to Coach Rush at City College, I was only allowed to talk to Washington State Cougars. That was it. Nobody
Oh,
else.
okay,
Yeah, that was the deal. So when I told him that I didn't want to, I wanted to see who else was recruiting me. Um, he told me there was a lot of colleges actually that were interested in bringing me on, and one of them, the first trip I went to was San Diego State.
hmm
Um, and then all the other calls started coming. And then I went to with Craig Bowl and Frank Solich to Nebraska. I was actually on a private jet for that one. No, I didn't even expect that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I went to Washington and the University of Arizona when Dick Tomey was down there. He actually resigned on the day I was on the recruiting trip because I was actually thinking about going to Arizona. Um,
Oops. Okay.
yeah, they lost to the Sun Devils. Um, but yeah, and I had a lot of recruitment, but actually I ended up going to Washington because my mom was one of the biggest supporters, and I didn't want her to travel across the country to watch me play. At least I'd be there, And
Gotcha.
she was one of the loudest ones in the stadium. I know
And
she.
if she's a true Husky fan, she probably would have been booing you while when you came to play. And who wants that, right?
Well, she's from New York and she doesn't mind booing people. She's still booing Eli Manning, and he won the Super Bowl.
That's good. That's awesome. Um, talk about the UW. Talk about the UW. Did you take a trip, or did they? I mean that when you said that Nebraska flew you on a private jet, I think that would have changed my mind. But with obviously being close to your mom, but I mean, like, what else impressed you about New Heisel or the college?
Well, really, I mean, I had a chance to talk to Coach Neuheisel and Tom Williams. He was the linebacker coach there, and really, the main thing that really, really stuck out was just to come back because I really was only going to do 1 year and then try to go to the NFL. But unfortunately, I ended up injuring my knees the same
Oh
season. I had two
no.
knee surgeries in the same season.
Oh wow. Okay, so you just played the O2 year then?
The 01, 02. So actually, I came back. I got injured the Cal game. That was after we played Michigan, Idaho, and then
Okay.
Cal. And I got hurt the Cal game. Then I was out for 2 weeks, came back to Arizona State, but I had two done joint knee braces and looked like Forrest Gump playing out there.
But
So I had
you,
my knees named. My knees were drained every week for
okay,
that for the 2001 season, and then 2002 was when I was still playing, but I had a full season.
right. 2002 then is when you got the Pac-12 honorable mention, uh, and then you went to the NFL, and I believe what I read was you went to San Francisco, the
Yes, sir.
49ers.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
Dennis Erickson, Dan Quinn was the
oh
D line
wow,
coach there.
wow.
Yeah, it was a different deal. But they wanted me to gain weight. I was actually losing weight in camp there, so that's when I got let go in those
Did
OTAs. Yeah, OTAs, and then ended up still working out and waiting for the next opportunity. And ended up going signing with the Calgary Stampeders in
Gotcha.
Canada.
Did you end up for a full season being on that practice squad for the Niners?
I did not. No, I was let go in the OTAs there for the.
How does that work? Because I don't think a lot of us realize. We watch the Seahawks. We watch the games, but I don't think a lot of people understand what the practice squad exactly is. So you are still signed to the team? Is that accurate?
You're still on the team. You're going to give the best look of what the other team is going to do. So you're going to be the look. You're going to imitate. If they're going to play the Denver Broncos, you're going to give the best Denver Bronco look you can give, and it's going to be written on cards, and you better do exactly what's on it.
Okay.
Um, Special teams, you got to do all that stuff too.
I see. I see. So you got to be the tackling dummy for the for the
Yeah,
starters, right?
but also what you do is still got to understand is now if the first or second stringer or somebody's not performing and they get cut, you got to be ready to go. So you
Right.
also have to know the playbook. You got to know exactly what you're doing because again, it could be your first chance or it could be your last chance if you're not doing what they want you to do.
Right on. Okay, gotcha. But you know what? You can be on the practice squad, or you can actually play in a league, and that's what you did. You went to the CFL. You said the Calgary Stampeders were your first team. You actually played for, I believe, 4 teams, 3 or 4 teams, right?
Yeah.
Um, how does that work? Is it just a 1 year contract for each of those, or do they have like a full 4 or 5 year contract?
It was. Well, if you're a rookie, you get a year and an option. So the first year, you have to play it out. The option year, you get a chance to go back to the NFL. And if you don't make the NFL, you have to go back to that team. So
Hmm,
after your
okay.
rookie year is when you actually can start making money, and that's what happened. So after my first year, that's when I did it. The first year with Calgary, I went to Indianapolis and did a workout with the Colts, and then didn't make that. So I went back to Ottawa because they traded me from Calgary to Ottawa, and I was there for 2 years with Ottawa. And then
Did you? What was your favorite team to be on?
I would say Montreal because it's a French town. There's actually nobody sleeps. The city never sleeps. There's always somebody in the street.
Really?
They're
Wow.
dancing. They got Caribbean dancing and all that stuff. So a lot of stuff, and it's a clean town and stuff that you'll never see. It's really good experience that I had.
Yeah, one of our Seattle sports teaching union guys here, Matt Page, went there not too long ago and told us it's like a European city. It doesn't even seem like it's in North America.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got to check it out sometime. It sounds exciting. Montreal Alouettes. We actually just had Vernon Adams, former quarterback for University of Oregon, who I believe played at Montreal,
Montreal,
uh,
yeah,
and
yeah,
he
I
was
remember.
he said that was a really fun time for him
Mm-hmm.
as well. Uh, Fantastic. Well, so you played up there. How are the fans? Are the fans any different than they are here?
I would say yes. So when I first got to Calgary, I don't know, I think it was the president. He was paying people to streak across the field, even though they
What?
got tackled and arrested. There's people. We had people streaking, and people drink Molson beer. It's actually stronger than any beer that you'll ever have in Canada. Um, 12 players on the field. The goalpost is on the goal line, so people run into that a lot. You have to be, ready for it.
Well, that must be difficult trying to line up in a goal line formation for a linebacker.
Well, it is. Well, you gotta pay attention. Get your head on the swivel, or you get knocked off. So
Did you guys find while you're up there the what was the where would you put the caliber of play? If you could like
I'll be on. You're talking about the caliber. You have guys. There's a mixture of guys. and it's really a talented field. Especially if you're looking at it's almost like coaching. You got a bunch of talented coaches out there, and some of them just on lower levels. Did you know Cam Wake was down there? That man had 24 sacks in the CFL, being a yard off the ball, and he actually made the Pro Bowl for the Miami
Wow.
Dolphins. Yes.
Okay.
There's Ricky Williams came down to Toronto because he loved to smoke, so he time and ended up going back to the NFL. So there's NFL guys out there, and they're just waiting for their next opportunity. Some stick, some come back. But again, even there's guys in the NFL that started NFL that think when you go to the CFL it's going to be this cakewalk, and they end up getting cut. I've seen
Right. Okay.
get cut and sent home.
Wow. Okay. Cool. What uh what precipitated the move to like when did you decide football's done and I'm going to coach? What precipitated that move?
Well, I was actually playing arena football, and it was like burritos and beans, and it was just like it got annoying. And then you know it was you weren't getting paid a whole bunch, and I just knew that it was time. And plus, I could barely walk anyway after I was limping, you know, um, especially because the last play I had in Canada, a piece of my kneecap chipped off, and they had to take it out the back of my leg. And you just know, like players know. So I'm gonna you wait for somebody to cut you, or you're old, or you decide to retire, and that's usually how it goes. Somebody has to tell you to be done.
Oh, fantastic. Hey, Kai, are you coming in a little bit soft? Could you come back to the mic a little bit?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. I think we missed like the last like 5-10 seconds of that.
So
Uh,
replay or retell you.
yeah, if you could.
Okay, so I was saying that a lot of players they don't get a chance. Um, you either got to be told to be done, which means they
Right,
cut you, or you retire, or you get hurt and you can't play anymore. That's usually how it goes. Because I mean, for yourself, if you're a competitor, there's no way somebody's gonna just I'm just gonna quit on my own. So somebody had to do it for me, and that's what happened.
man. Oh man, that's so weird because a person who hasn't been at that level as you have in sports, it's rejection.
Mm-hmm.
That and that can I can see why athletes sometimes have a hard time uh, uh, in reintegrating into regular whatever average day society. Because yeah, you're definitely in a different world. It seems like that's not the world
Well,
that
it's
the
a
rest of
humbling
us live in.
experience, and you do need people to lean on when you're transitioning out, and just understand that even though you're not out there, you're more than just a football player. You're actually a regular person. You're a good person, but again, there's a lot of depression that goes along with it because
Right,
people are telling you how great you are, but that doesn't matter, and if you start to realize that, at one time it's going to be in, because that there's people that said, hey, one day it's going to be all done for you. You're going to have to figure out what you want to do and have a fallback plan. And a lot of players, they're not ready for that because they always think they have another year.
did you get that or did you have to struggle a little bit?
I definitely got that. I thought that
That's
even though I was injured, I was going to still land another spot, and it didn't
oh,
happen for me.
but
You
I
know,
mean, did you have people to help you transition out of football
it
as a
didn't.
player?
It did. I did not. I
Oh
didn't.
man,
I mean, just because when you go into a place, it's just like it doesn't really matter what people say. It's just like that's not what you want to hear at the time, and it takes time to get your groove back. And so I found it doing coaching. Passing
right.
it on to the kids who actually need it. Like that, you got to find what's your purpose, what's your next phase in life.
Fantastic. That's really cool. Let's jump back to Huskies for a minute here. When you were playing, you got 2002. You had an up and down season, uh, but you guys created something to keep your motivation up, and that was the Pacific Northwest Championship. Where did that come from, and how did that become like a rallying point?
I think that was a mental game for our football team. So I mean, we were dropped. We lost to Cal. We lost to I believe we lost to Oregon State, and then we
No,
didn't.
you beat Oregon, Oregon State, and Wazoo
Oh yeah. There
in
you
that
go.
year.
But we lost to UCLA. There we go. That's what happened. And so just to finish the season strong, he came up with this Pacific Northwest Championship, and
Was that
So
New Heisel?
that was Neuheisel. Yeah, I know it made some people mad who weren't like Neuheisel fans, but whatever, whatever, get the team going, and and we bought it and we rolled with it.
From a fan standpoint, I think there are people that just didn't want to like New Heisel day one. Even if he, like took us to a Rose Bowl, there were plenty of fans who were like, we don't like, we don't want this guy. We don't like this guy. And they were just looking for reasons to pick on him. Um, and his, his, the gambling thing, the thing that everybody else does,
Right.
it felt like a witch hunt, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, But yeah, for those people who don't know, I think he did a NCAA college basketball. What do you call those? Bracket.
Bracket, yeah.
Yeah,
Spend some money on it.
and it's
Yeah.
it's technically against the rules, but I mean, everybody in every office. It's technically against the law, but everybody in every office does them, and everybody puts in 5, 10, $20, whatever it is. Uh, yeah, and it was a way to railroad him out of town, and that's the way I perceive it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously, there's some people who just weren't going to like him regardless. So, how was your relationship with him, or did you deal more with the DC defensive
I
coordinator?
talked to everybody. I never really had an issue with any of the coaches, and because I just did what I was asked to do, and that was it. I think Coach Neuheisel was a player's coach, and I know some people didn't like that. They needed a little bit more discipline. And actually, what's funny is that when I signed with the 49ers, I ran into Tony Parrish.
Oh, safety,
Yeah.
ex safety, right, for
Mm-hmm.
Huskies.
Yeah. And so I was like, yeah, I just came from Washington. He says, I don't like what you guys are doing to our program. I was like, what do you mean? Nothing there. Sorry. Um, you know, but, because they're used to like the 90s and 91 where, guys just tough knit and grit and there's nothing soft about it. So, and I'm not saying that's what we are. I just think that they're just used to the Don James era to where everybody
Right.
knows their own deal.
That's kind of tough, though. I mean, because the 2000 and 2001 team that you got injured on, I mean, those were, and even that '02 team was, had plenty of good players and uh, good wins. In fact, one of the wins you had was against number 3 Wazoo. Sorry, Brian Solak. I know you're out there listening to me. But you beat them in triple overtime. Number 3 team in the nation. It's not like you guys were, a bunch of softies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
speaking of that game, that had to have been a highlight. What was that like for you?
Well, actually, we would have never made it to triple overtime if John wasn't making those field goals because he did miss some early in the game, which kind of helped us get into triple overtime in the first place. But, you know, and I knew I was actually supposed to go to Washington State, and they were kind of mad. They were talking. Actually, when we went in, I remember band members talking to me, telling me that I wish I would have went to Washington State. I'm like, they got band members talking to me. Man, guys playing the trumpet telling me. Um, but we can't lose this game. We all had energy. We never gave up. That's one thing that also helped us. Mentally tough, and when that call happened or when they made the play and when Kegel went in, because Tank Johnson, if you remember, broke Jason Gesser's leg on a sack.
Oh, wow, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he broke his leg, and then when you see a new quarterback in, obviously he has to get into the flow of the game. So we just had to pin our ears back and go get it. Um, But yeah, just when they call the play, it's something that you dream about in when you're a child throwing the ball up to yourself, thinking. But it happened, and just fortunate that you'll be able to remember that. For me,
Boy, I hope there's a photograph out there of you and a guy with a trumpet getting into a fight. That'd be.
I'm not going to hit somebody in the band. That's outrageous.
No, I've got the same problem with that band you do. I was Brian Solak and I at Soul Man were at this was about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. We were on the field at Martin Stadium, and I'm taking photographs, and the band's coming at me, and they won't stop. And there's a tromboner, like trying to run me over, and it's like, come on, guys, I'm just trying to take some photographs here, like and I am up against the brick wall up there. There's nowhere for me to go. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sent running like a doofus from the band. So I would definitely love it if you guys got some payback on the Wazoo band. That one for me. If
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's when they stopped selling those beer bottles because they were throwing bottles on the field after they made the ruling and hit a reporter in the face, if I remember.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
they hit him in the face, and the guy held his face was on like bleeding. So we got like people were jogging there to get out of there, but
Boy, those are different days back then, I guess.
mhm.
What, what that would have been Mike Price. Was he? You said he was trying to recruit you first, but you had to do the Prop 48.
Had to do Prop 48. He actually flew down and wanted to, and I told him I didn't want to go to the school, and he still tried to get me to go because my stepdad actually played at Washington State, and he sent a
Oh,
picture of him when he was playing tackle for him.
who was your stepdad for all those?
Earl Owens.
Earl Owens. Okay, cool. We got to look. We got to look him up, Brian. um, so apparently that was Mike Price's last Apple Cup. So you got a chance to see him out on his his final go. But also when you flip it around, uh, in 2012, that was also the Apple Cup was Steve Sarkisian's last game. Is that right?
I
Because then
believe
you had
before he
Tuyos.
skipped down to USC, you're saying, and then Marcus
Yeah,
Tuiasosopo was the interim head coach.
yeah. What was that like? I mean, did you have a heads up, or is that this just part of the business?
I mean, it's a part of the business. Every coach is looking for an upgrade usually and seeing where they can kind of flourish. It's kind of like the transfer portal. You know, nobody's going to say no to another opportunity.
Right.
Unfortunate, but that's just how it goes. But
Yep.
no, I know he was telling everybody, don't believe the outside noise. Let's just play this game. And next thing you know, he was off. It was a big old shuffle. So
What was it like to watch Tui be the head coach for a game?
I mean, I think he did a good job. I mean, he did. I mean, he won. I mean, we played
You
BYU inside of San Francisco, inside Giant Stadium, and beat BYU. So he did a good job. He didn't change anything. Everything was organized and everything. So I think he did a good job. And maybe he might have an opportunity to coach again as a head coach somewhere because he's at Rice. He's doing a decent job at Rice.
is he head coach there?
He is I think he's either offensive coordinator or
OC.
quarterback coach at Rice. Yeah.
Okay, very cool, very cool. That I mean, that era that you played in, actually, Tuiasosopo might have been before you. You had Cody Pickett, I'm assuming,
At Cody Pickett. Yeah.
right? And then Reggie Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And in defense, you had guys like I said, Tank Johnson, Rock Alexander was there.
Marquise
Um,
Cooper.
right, right. And then
Nate Robinson.
Nate Robinson. That's right. You guys had Nate Robinson. What was did you think like this guy's going to be an NBA player? I mean, I had him pegged as like a NFL cornerback, but
He's an athlete. If you saw him at Rainier Beach, this kid was dunking. I'm thinking this kid comes up to my waist. There's no way this man can dunk, and he was actually doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And he actually had a lot of confidence. You could always hear him. He's always talking about something. You know, full of energy. But that was an athletic kid. And actually, the reason why he went to go play basketball because he wanted to play running back because his dad, Jock Robinson, played running back for the Huskies.
that's
And
right. That's right.
when he didn't get the opportunity, that's when he decided to go play basketball, which, hey, it turned out for him.
Well, oh, so he didn't want to be a cornerback then.
He wanted an opportunity. He could have went both ways. I mean, if they wanted him to, but just wasn't in the cards. Didn't happen for him. So
Oh, very cool. Very cool. Yeah, Jacques Robinson. Uh, 1984 was the Orange Bowl. Like he was the MVP of the Orange Bowl when the Huskies almost won the national championship. Yeah, a lot of people forget that was his. That's his dad, right?
that's his dad. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Got some questions about college football in general.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to ask you about. Get your reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that the 3 point, the Vegas has UW as a 3 point favorite against Oregon? Is that accurate?
I mean, I don't think anything's ever accurate because I don't know if it just depends because sometimes it's three, sometimes somebody blows somebody out by 14 or 21. It all depends on the flow of the game and who's turning the ball over. You never know. I know they got to cover their books too, so I don't know.
People don't think about that sometimes, Kai. Is that the Vegas is trying to get people to bet, and
Mm.
sometimes they'll fudge what they really think is going to happen just to get you to put some money down on it. So it's not really that accurate of a representation of anything other than uh, if they can get your money, right?
Right, and they're doing a good job of that, I'm sure.
House always wins. What do you think's going to happen this week?
Well, I think they got two Heisman watch quarterbacks that have been putting up points in a hurry. Um, I think that the offense for Oregon, I mean, this would be that's the true test for both teams. I mean, the Huskies and the Oregon Ducks playing each other last year, they got the best of them by a field goal. So I think it'll be back and forth, and who can take care of the ball the most. That's what it's going to boil down to. I think if no neither team's really been down, by a large margin. So like by a large margin, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how both teams would respond if they ever did get in that situation, and what would be the adjustments.
Right now, like a politician, you evaded my question, Kai.
Oh,
Who
go
do you
ahead.
think? What do you think's going to happen? Who's going to win?
Well, I definitely know the Huskies are going to win.
That's right. That's
I mean,
right.
they're coming down to the doghouse. Like you're not going to come down and beat the Huskies down there. That's
Right on. Right on. Do you have? You're coaching high school. Are you going to be able to watch the game, or you have to watch it on replay?
Oh no, they play on Fridays, so on Saturdays I have those that free, so I'll definitely be watching.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Will you will you be watching game day to see if any Cougar fans show up to go after the game day crew?
I'm sure they will, but hey, there's somebody always going to show up to try to heckle game day. It's interesting to see all the signs they have up there.
I hope our producer Brian the Soul Man Solak goes down there and tells them off. I hope you do, Brian. I'll give you $20 if you go do it. Anyway, so so UW and Oregon are going to go to the Big Ten. What was your reaction when you heard this?
It started actually. I think it happened with the NIL deals and trying to be competitive with conferences because now everything's more like a big old money grabbing scheme thing. So
Right.
the Pac-12 will be no more. When you go to the Big Ten, like different body types for the Big Ten. So how would you recruit? What's the plan for recruiting when you're grabbing these guys to be able to compete in the Big Ten? Do they grab the same guys, or you're looking for mammoth type of guys? It's kind of like it's the same thing if they took the Pac-12 and moved them to the SEC. Different type of bodies. So it'd be interesting to see how that works.
Are you happy about the move?
For me, honestly, it's just competition. It doesn't matter if they move to the SEC, the Big Ten, Big 12, ACC. It doesn't matter. Every game's a game, and you got the college football playoffs going on. Some people feel like they got snubbed because they didn't think that their conference was strong enough or they didn't have a strong enough schedule. So now you get the chance to see all of these things come into play.
Right on. You were talking about NIL, so name, image, and likeness. Back in the day, that's something you could have gotten in trouble for, kicked out of football for. What do you think? What were your impressions about one, uh, players being able to make money off that? Two, the implementation of it.
I think that there are athletes that have an opportunity to go to the NFL, and it was unfortunate. Like when we were coming up, when you do get injured, and you're not able to see that. So to pay an athlete to win football games for you, because they're making millions of dollars. Coaches are making millions of dollars off of these athletes, which I think they should have a little bit more money. And I think somebody did like an article where a kid didn't have a meal, like you have like a little bit, but now you're being upped, and um, I think it could pay dividends for these college athletes. But here's the other thing: a lot of these kids don't come from anything. So when you have parents that have their nose in it, they're taking the kids' money and using it for whatever else they need, and maybe when they're done, they won't have anything else. The other part of the other concern is what happens when you have a kid who is making more than your position coach. Are they coachable? Are they going to do what they've been asked to do? Are they going to transfer somewhere else and think that they're going to get the same opportunity? And I think there's going to be some kids that get taken advantage of to where they think, because you got to think about it, these are still amateurs and they're dealing with contracts and things like that, and they don't know exactly what that means.
Yeah, I do. I do worry about that because when you're how old were you when you got contacted by various colleges? Maybe 16, 17?
I was like 18, 19.
Okay. But for those who get contacted, like it, let's just say, I'm going to throw 17 out there. Um, the parents still kind of, they have to sign everything for that kid. And like you said, I do worry about, skeevy parents, who might just try to take their kids' money. Uh, it's happened before, especially in Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
These parents make off with these child actors' money, and uh, what's protecting, and at that age, like 18, I was stupid with money. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Um,
Well,
yeah,
let's be honest, because a lot of these parents they haven't dealt with the sport, and some of them haven't even played sports, and they're just looking at and listening to what people are saying. So you're putting put your kid in a position to where you're screwing them over.
yeah,
We still have like even in recruiting, we have some parents who are trying to talk for the kid, and it's a huge turnoff with the other college coaches. And there's some people who let's just say not everybody's going to be honest in recruiting a lot of
right.
times. So you're signing your kid's name on a dotted line, and he doesn't know what he's signing. And I'm surprised there's some people who don't get sued yet. I'm still waiting for a company to sue somebody.
I could see a situation like you're talking about where, yeah, a recruiter says, "Why don't you come to, you know, uh, Northeastern Southern State University?
Right.
We'll get you $1 million, and you get there, you sign something you probably didn't even read. I mean, hell, most of us are on our iPhones, just hit accept so we don't have to, because we just want to use the app. Um, and maybe there's some sort of stipulation that, screws over that kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, and I assume back in your day, there were people that were predatory on athletes, trying to get them like car deals and stuff like that secretly. Um, and now it's out in the open. Now it's
Right.
legal.
You mean like USC in
Yeah,
Nebraska?
Reggie Bush.
Right.
Yeah,
Reggie Bush, Lindell White, they had bags and bags, duffel bags of money.
yep.
You know.
The condos and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah, and the people say those predators, and I keep using the word predators uh, because that's what they are. They see the kid as a paycheck rather than as a human being that is trying to make it, and um, they see him as disposable too.
Mm-hmm.
Because whoever gave Reggie Bush all that money and all the condos and whatever, did they get in trouble? Did they go to jail? No. Like, nothing bad happened to them. Their reputation was already that they're scumbags. So what does it matter?
Right. Well, there's been cases where coaches have went to prison. I think it was Auburn with Bruce Pearl, Chuck Person. Did he go to prison?
Oh, tell me about
Yeah.
this one. This one I don't know. I feel bad. I don't know
Now I
about
don't
this
have
one.
all the details, but I do know somebody had to take the fall, and I know he for something he did with money, and he ended up going serving some jail time for it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let- Switch gears a little bit. I want to talk about another big thing in college sports right now, and that's the transfer portal. You brought it up a little bit earlier. What were your impressions about the institution of the transfer portal just a couple of years ago?
I mean, I think a kid deserves, like, if he's not going to get playing time and he knows if I'm a junior or senior to do it. But if you're just not getting playing time and you're a freshman and you think that you're owed that, I think it turns into like spoiledness. So I think a lot of kids don't know the value of actually working hard and waiting your time or your turn because actually there's a maturity part, which is either physical or mental that you need to do, you know. And like it even went all the way down to D2. I had guys who were on the scout team talking about they're going to go in the portal, and Division 2, especially on my level, once they went into the transfer portal, they're sitting home on the couch playing Nintendo. You know, so I just think that it just depends on who you are going into the transfer portal. Because there's some kids that actually, when you ask them why did they get kicked out, it was like a disciplinary issue
Right.
you know. Um, like I was in like at the D2, we were trying to win. I had a guy from TCU. He didn't pan out. He didn't do anything on the D2 level. You had another guy's name was IHOP. That we were trying to recruit from Jackson State, 400 plus pounds, and he had terrible work ethic. That's why he was in the transfer portal. So I think like when you're digging in there as a coach, you just got to do like a character background check because you never know what you're going to get.
How does that work? I assume you had to do some recruiting at various stops that you were at. How how does vetting a kid work as far as character? Do you have to like? Is it a matter of you just have to sit down and talk with them,
No.
or are there
I'll never take a
cues
kid's
and
word for what he says. I'll talk to the coaches. I'm gonna talk to their strength and conditioning coaches. And then you got to really know um, know coaches to get their honest opinion, or they can sit down. And there's some of them that just ain't gonna lie to you. I say I'm gonna tell you the truth, man, because whoever you pick, you're only allowed a certain amount of scholarships. And if this kid causes problems and you don't do the research, like we had a kid on campus who we missed the ball. This kid actually had armed robbery. He held somebody at gunpoint and had a bunch of felonies, and he's sitting
Wow,
on campus. We had the dean of students come and get this man off of campus with police. So
that's crazy.
you're right. Could you imagine if he committed a crime? We wouldn't be sitting there.
Now you have to temper that though with maybe some of those kids who just need a second chance, right? And they show
Yeah.
that contrition, they show that they regret it. Um,
But
like,
well, I mean, it's the makeup of just the environment. So, like sexual harassment, you can't really play around with that. With
yeah,
when you have sexual harassment, that is everybody, the whole coaching staff's jobs online. When you have a kid that does that, like he can be, regretful and all of his actions and all that stuff, and you can't do it. So, for example, there was a kid that was 6'4". He was a safety. He went to Utah State, and there was a girl who claimed that she sexually harassed him. And the court case was pending. She was supposed to drop the charges, but until she dropped the charges, we could not bring him on the team at
oh,
all.
that's
Yeah.
that's really tough.
hmm
Got a question from Brian the Soulman Solak. Uh, he's read that you have ADD. If that's true, what advice can you give to someone who's been diagnosed with that?
Well, I mean, for me, if you're just going to have to record, especially if you're trying to listen, because I take parts of conversations and only the important parts. All the rest of them I just kind of dispose. But if it's really something important, you're going to have to just focus and have somebody record, and then take notes later on um, those conversations. There's also medication out there that you can take to help you focus, but it's not like something that's going to really hold you back. A lot of people try to use ADD or ADHD like you can't learn or you can't retain stuff, but you really can.
Fantastic. Let's just stay on that vein as well. You, what kind of advice with your recent health issues? What kind of advice would you have for people in your position going through that?
Well, a lot of things. When you're talking about the heart surgery.
Yes, yeah,
So with my heart surgery, actually, when it happened to me and when I had to go to the hospital and learn that I actually had to have open heart surgery, how serious it was, it actually really made me really think about the stuff that wasn't that important anymore. And actually, I ended up getting baptized, and when I did, a lot of stuff went away, and I started to realize a lot of different things, even including um, football, or even how I carried myself from even being a dad, because I have a 15-year-old daughter and a son who's 6. Um, and you just see things in a different light. And so, yeah, when you have health issues, there's a lot more stuff that's important. It's not materialistic things. Um, it's not how many touchdowns you scored, how many people you tackle. It's just how you treat people. How can you help people? That kind of stuff.
I know not a lot of shows talk about faith and family, and if you're not comfortable with it, let me know. But
That's fine.
can you go a little bit more into that? So, like, what kind of things did you let go? What have you decided to do differently since you found faith?
Well, the first thing is like even being in the sports world, like how you treat women. Like it's not about how you treat women. Like they're special people. They're human beings. If you have a daughter, like it's not about how many people you can get in bed with. You know, it's about building a true, genuine relationship. And at the end of the day, like all you're doing really is just wasting time. Because at 43, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's like, what did you accomplish? You didn't accomplish nothing. If you put your energy into genuinely trying to help somebody out, like I volunteered myself to um, help kids at like a community center. I've been doing like worship reading with my church and things like that. It helps you grow and helps you see different stuff. I'm not looking in the same light that I was looking at before.
Fantastic. We're getting towards the end of our show, and we always like to end on what's called a shout out. Brian the Soul Man Solak, who's producing the show, please throw your shout out into the chat. I'll read that off. And a shout out, Kai, is somebody that you want to mention in your life, or some group that you want to mention, anything you want as we end the show on a positive note. I'll go ahead and get started. First, I want to give a shout out to my friend Brett Masker. His father just passed away this week, and he's heading up to Alaska to tend to all the uh, financial details and all the paperwork to help out his mother. Uh, I'm there for you, Brett. If you ever need me, let me know. Send me a text. Give me a call. How about you, Kai? Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Shout out to my daughter. She's 15. I know she's listening. She didn't believe I was on, so I'm gonna do that. Shout out to my mom, big supporter. I also want to give a shout out. A lot of people didn't talk about it. Curtis Williams. I always thought about him every single day. Um, Big safety for the Huskies. Joe the Toe Jarzinka, who was passed away as fishing. Claudia, I know she's listening. Um, I also want to shout out to my brother just for being supportive down here, and then shout out to you guys for bringing me on. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, of course, the Soul Man has a shout out to his mother. Uh, he says that his mom will disown him. I don't know what that means. I hope that's an inside joke. And he says, "Props to you, Kai. You're a good man." And I think the same. Thank you for giving us a couple of really amazing seasons with the University of Washington. But more importantly, thank you for their being in service to your friends, your loved ones, all the kids that you make a difference, as they come up, in football and in other areas of your life. And for all of you out there, where can people contact you? Are you on social media?
I am. I have Facebook and I also have Instagram.
Great. What's your handle?
Let me go look at it because I just was putting in numbers. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Obviously, on Facebook, it'd just be your
Yes.
name.
So it's Kai or K Ellis 90 2003.
Awesome, fantastic, and thank you all out there for joining us yet again at the Seattle Sports Union. Keep in touch with us on social media on Facebook and Twitter at Seattle Sports U. As well, check out our newly redesigned website at Seattle Sports Union. Keep listening to our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Captivate FM, and now on North Beach Community TV, channel 68 out of Ocean Shores. And once again, I want to thank you, Kai Ellis, for being on the show, and we'll get this posted up to YouTube and. For all of you out there, have a wonderful day. On behalf of Brian the Soul Man Solak, myself, Abraham Deweese, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Go Dogs.
Yes, go Dogs.